Federal Executive Council approves 309.9 billion naira for development of 5 roads in the country. Foreign investors' interest in the Nigerian economy drops in the first quarter of 2021. Nigeria's crude oil gas exports proceeds fall by 42% as oil prices fell nearly 1% but remain firmly around $75 a barrel. These and more coming your way on Business Express today on the network service of the NTA, and we are reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I'm Liakatin Babatunde. The Federal Executive Council has approved the construction and reconstruction of 5 critical roads infrastructure projects in parts of the country at the cost of 309.9 billion naira. Works and Housing Minister Babatunde Fashola announced these while briefing journalists after the council's meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. The council also approved 754 million naira for the construction of a command and control center and procurement of communication gadgets for the EFCC to boost the fight against insecurity and financial fraud in the country, as well as public-private partnership for the introduction of a specialized police service scheme for the Nigerian police force to enable the police improve revenue and make operations more efficient.
Single award of concrete roads ever undertaken by the government of Nigeria in one award.
Part of the revenue will go to the federal government, part of it will go to the police, part of it will go into police allowances. This is something that has gone on for many years, and it happens in virtually all countries of the world. In our own case, it had remained non-formalized, and government is concerned that leakages in revenue and incomes should be.
The Central Bank of Nigeria says the 15 trillion naira Infrastructure Corporation of Nigeria (Infraco) will begin operations in the third quarter of this year. CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele, who announced this during an investors webinar, explained that analysts estimated that over 350 trillion naira is needed to support infrastructure investments over the next 10 years, adding that if these investments were made, Nigeria is likely to attain a gross domestic product growth rate of over 10% annually.
Partnership with the private sector, Infracorp will be able to leverage close to 15 trillion naira over the coming years, which would help to close the gap on our infrastructure funding needs and would help to catalyze growth in other key sectors of our economy.
Now, just last week, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo said that Nigeria, being one of the highest producers of leather and finished leather products in Africa, with a projected revenue of $1 billion by the year 2025, the industry could become a game changer for Nigeria's economy by improving the country's foreign exchange earnings, boosting growth, and providing employment for young Nigerians. The Vice President, who stated this during the formal launch and sensitization workshop on the National Leather and Leather Products Policy Implementation Plan in Abuja last Tuesday, added that with the right planning and strategy, optimizing the value chain, these goals could become reality soon. Our guest, of course, in Kano studio to discuss just how much of the product Nigeria can produce and how ready the country is to achieve these is Alhaji Tijani Sulegaru, who is Eyes and Skin merchant based, of course, in Kano. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you. Good morning, Leah.
Great. And now leather.
Good morning,
seems
Leah.
to,
Thank you very much.
Leather seems to have huge economic prospects. Take us through the potentials of the industry. Can you take us through the industry, the potentials of leather?
Last question.
The potentials of leather.
Okay. Leather is a very high potential product, more especially in Nigeria. You know that Nigerian leather has gone back way back since during the trans-Saharan trade, because during the trans-Saharan trade, it is used to call Moroccan leather. And actually it is Nigerian leather, not Moroccan leather. It is because of the trans-Saharan trade that they are coming to Kano and part of the north to take the leather through Morocco to cross the Mediterranean to Europe and other countries. So the potential is really great, because out of leather you can do so many products. You can do shoes, bags, belts, and a lot of things, even garment you can do out of the leathers. So the potential is really enormous, you see.
Now, looking at the diversification project of the federal government, what role can the leather industry play?
Can you repeat that, please?
Okay. What role can the leather industry play when we're talking diversification of Nigeria's economy?
Leather can play a very big role. I think now maybe we are the second largest non-oil export in Nigeria. I think the largest probably is cocoa, but leather is the second largest non-oil exports. Currently, we are exporting, I think, close to between $250 to $300 million worth of products out of Nigeria. So with the right policies, which the Vice President has just inaugurated or has just launched, leather policy, I think we can reach that $1 billion in the next few years. That is, say, by 2025 to 2026, as the Vice President says.
Okay, looking at this target of $1 billion, it's quite ambitious, and of course the AFCFTA is opening so much doors. Is the leather industry well positioned, or how do we position it to explore the opportunities in the single market on the continent?
I think leather is being positioned very well. More especially, it is being promoted by Nigerian Export Promotion Council, because I could remember in 2019 or 2018, I think there was the first All Africa Trade Fair, which Nigerian Export Promotion facilitated a lot of companies to visit Cairo and display their products. And it is all part of the preparations of the AFCFTA. Leather industry in Nigeria, we have reached the world standard of producing leather in Nigeria. We have reached that one. So there is a lot of opportunity for the Nigerian leathers within Africa. Yeah.
Okay, so now are there challenges in sourcing raw materials And how do you expect government to promote the leather industry?
Well, the raw materials we have availability, as we said, in so long people will eat the meat, we will get the skin, because leather is primarily from the skin. So the source of the skin is available due to our population in Nigeria, which we have almost 120 million people. So you can imagine the amount of meat we eat. So we are getting a lot of leathers. And with this AFCFTA, I'm sure a lot of our neighboring countries, a lot of African countries will start bringing in their leathers. I can tell you authoritatively that sometimes we are getting leathers from as far as Senegal, imported into Nigeria. I did it myself. And all these things are being promoted by NEPC. NEPC are really promoting Nigerian leathers across Africa. Yeah.
Well, you just mentioned we have to eat meat basically to be able to get this raw skin to export and of course get other activities along the value chain to move. But government, on the other hand, has banned the export of raw skin. Is that affecting you?
Well, that has really, the ban of the export of raw skins has really helped the industry. And government has gone a step further by banning the export of wet blue, because leather, you see, it requires a lot of processes, because from raw you have to take it to pickle, to wet blue, to crush, and then to finish leather. You see, each single skins carries a process. Before you see a leather shoe, that leather must have gone through about 16 to 20 different processes. So by banning the export of the raw skins, we are really creating jobs. Because if you export the raw, then where are you going to, what about the use? So I think it's a very good policy the government did, and it has really helped us, the tanners, that we are now producing the world standard leather.
Okay, so government has played its role. What is left for industry players like you? You've just mentioned jobs creation. So perhaps opportunities along the value chain that others can come in.
Like for now, a lot of young people, young entrepreneurs are coming in to do shoe manufacturing, that is shoe stitching and bags. So that is a value addition as well, instead of exporting the finished leather. So we are getting a lot of young people coming into the businesses, and a lot of technology is being put into place, because it's not just you have a tannery or you produce leather. A lot of serious technology has to go in. You need chemical engineers, you need designers, you need fashion people, you need so many things. And luckily enough, our young people now are coming of age. They are doing it. You even need this social media and stuff like that to do your marketing. So there is a great potential and a great opportunity there.
Okay, so I would like to end the discussion here, and I must say thank you to you for being part of our program this morning, and we'll be looking forward to see a lot more of leather activity boosting up the resources of the economy.
Thank you very much, Leah. It's good. Thank you very much for having me on this program. Okay. And you are always welcome to visit our tannery to see our leathers, which is going all over the world.
Great,
so thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Now, Nigeria's crude oil exports fell by as much as 41.9% year-on-year in the first quarter of 2021. This is according to data contained in the Central Bank of Nigeria's Balance of Payment report. Nigeria received in its current account crude oil and gas export proceeds of $6.48 billion in the first quarter of 2021 compared to $11.1 billion in the corresponding period in 2020. It also represents a 16.4% drop when compared to the $7.7 billion recorded in the fourth quarter of 2020. Crude oil and gas export proceeds of $54.5 billion in 2019 made up about 84% of the government's export earnings. However, crude oil and gas exports declined to $31.4 billion in 2020 as COVID-19 pandemic triggered a global economic lockdown, crashing oil prices to below zero in the second quarter of the year 2020. Now, at the parallel market, the naira remained stable at 505 naira to a dollar, same as it has been since Friday last week. Reports by Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission (NIPC) shows that Nigeria recorded $8.4 billion in investment announcement inflows in the first quarter of 2021, of which $5.5 billion was pledged by foreign investors. This corresponds with the NBS Capital Importation Report from 2020, which showed that total foreign investment in Nigeria suffered a considerable blow. In 2020, the overall value of capital inflows decreased by 59.6% to $9.7 billion. The NBS report also revealed that only 11 states and FCT were able to attract foreign investments in Q1 2021, compared to 25 states in the fourth quarter of 2020. The report says although the fall in 2020 can be attributed mainly to the COVID-19 pandemic disrupting economic activities, the impact of underlying problems such as current instability, inadequate infrastructure, and unfriendly government policies cannot be underestimated. Foreign investment is further deterred by the country's high inflation rate, insecurity, and tax structure. Olayinka Ojo, in our Surviving COVID-19 series, had an interview with an aluminium fabricator, Bamidele Joseph.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Just sliding material, we call it lock style for sliding. We bought it 3.5, but now it's almost 5,000 now. If we can give now we want to do a sliding now. Before we used to do it 25, 30, but now we tell to customer that we are doing it 50, 55. They can't do it. They'll just say, no problem, pending, we get back to you. There's no direct work now. Most working outside now, most contractors used to collect it from us. So that is it. There's no direct job that, okay, I can go to sites. All the sites are already locked down. All these engineers, no work, no money to, to give us to work into aluminium again. So it's just maintenance, repair key, just broken glass.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Oil prices fell nearly 1% on Thursday, extending losses as investors braced for more supplies following a compromise between top OPEC producers and as U.S. fuel stocks rose. Let's see prices of oil and other commodities on the global market. On Islamic banking, Fitch Ratings says Sukuk supply is expected to rise in the second half of 2021 after it showed strong growth during the second quarter of 2021, supported by strong investor appetite and issuers refinancing and funding diversification needs. Seasonal patterns will affect quarterly Sukuk issuance, which following the summer break is expected to pick up in the remainder of 2021 and beyond. The Sukuk market experienced strong market activity in the second quarter of the year after a slower Q1 of 2021, driven by big-ticket issuance from Saudi Arabian oil company, the largest corporate Sukuk issued to date, and the Indonesian, Turkish, and Omani sovereigns. The growth was driven by issuers aiming to diversify their funding and taking advantage of the low interest rate environment amid continued fiscal deficit and still challenging economic conditions. Investor demand remains intact due to new Sukuk supply scarcity and the global hunt for yield. Now on the stock market, a review of Wednesday's trading shows that investors gained 7.97 billion naira as the ASI inched up marginally, with the market closing trading session on a positive note. The all-share index climbed 0.04% to close 37,872.55 basis points, and equity capitalization also closed at 19.7 trillion naira. 197.2 million shares worth 2.1 billion naira were traded in 3,610 deals. UBA, Access and Zenith banks were the most traded shares, with combined volume of 82.1 million shares valued at 953.6 million naira. Now, those are the opening figures this morning. Of course, stock markets across the globe recovered Thursday after receiving a bash on Wednesday. Next is Global Market Report with Boss Day Abel.
Shares in Asia Pacific were mixed on Thursday as China reported that its second quarter gross domestic product rose. Mainland Chinese stocks closed higher. The Shanghai Composite rose 0.98% to 3,563.07. Hang Seng Index gained 0.9%, while Nikkei depreciated 1.15%. European stocks were lower on Thursday as investors digest inflation data from the US and UK released yesterday. FTSE opened low at 0.47%, while CAC 40 and DAX are still maintaining previous figures. US stock futures were mixed in early morning trading on Thursday as investors readied for more corporate earnings and labor market data. Dow fell 75 points. S&P 500 futures were below the flat line, while Nasdaq 100 futures were mildly higher. For Africa, Namibia's overall index and South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 are being led by the bulls this morning, while figures are expected to roll in from Ghana's GSE Composite, Nairobi's All-Share and Tunisia's Tunidex. Boss Day Able, Business Express.
And before we go, I'd like to inform you that President Muhammadu Buhari will today be paying a one-day working visit to Kano State. Of course, he's expected to commission some remarkable critical projects in that state during the course of that visit, and NTA will be bringing you the updates on that epic event. And of course, we come to the end of Business Express this morning. Remember to keep in touch with us by sending in your comments, observations, and suggestions. Also be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. Join us again Friday at 3 p.m. for another episode. I'm Leah Katung Babatunde. Be safe out there, and God bless Nigeria.